Hey, 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 yes, it is our turn. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Syncretism. Host Kate of Gaia, once again at the helm. Oh, yeah, 7 nights a week. Wow. If you asked me 5 years ago I'd be doing this, I'd be calling you crazy. Anyway, there you have it. That's what it is, and that's what we're doing. Now, just a quick update. Haven't heard back from Jordan. Emailed him earlier today. But again, as he's available and able to do the shows, that's kind of the deal to keep this open for him and Santo. And I posted a little link earlier on Facebook regarding that wonderful family that somehow loves to kill people, the DuPont family that makes Teflon. Anyway, Santos has got a bit of Teflon flu. Actually, he doesn't eat cooked foods too often, and go figure, the first time he does, someone did it up in a Teflon pan, and gosh darn if he didn't get all the symptoms. It was about 6 hours worth of flu he got, so lost a ton of weight too. But there you go. I'm hoping that he'll pop in tonight. I was talking to him earlier, and I guess about 45 minutes ago, and he was going to go lie down. So he said he'd be tuning in, and if how do you put it? If you can, he will, and if you can't, well, you're stuck with me and whatever we come up with in a magical way tonight, because getting a few things in that they're kind of confirming exactly what I'm feeling too. There's been a bit of a shift today. Something big lifted. We're not quite sure what it is yet, and might have something to do with the release of that Oz movie today. No, hey, everything factors in, right? And we've had such a wild couple of weeks. You know, actually it's been pretty crazy since February 11th, and that was when the Pope stepped down and the Vatican got hit with lightning. And as fate would have it, that was the first anniversary of the SWAT raid on my house when they came and stole my house at gunpoint. So working on an essay called "Who You Gonna Call?" And isn't it funny that when criminal activities occur, you're supposed to be able to call who? Well, you can't call the ones that actually did the stealing and the breaking and entering and the attempted murdering and the kidnapping and all the rest of it. So what do you do? So I'll be having a little look at that whole scenario in an essay form. So it'll be a long one. That I know for sure. But there you go. All right. I'm going to go off on a bit of a tear tonight. So hope you guys are ready. I just got to do this. Bear with me. You'll get a giggle, I promise. But here, bear with me. Check this out.
CMR Critical Mass Radio in association with We Are Change Manchester and Freedom Northwest. Please note the views and opinions expressed by the hosts on this show are not necessarily the views held by the station. CMR is for people who want answers, because now it's our turn.
Yeah, so I thought I'd just make sure that the disclaimer was played, so I played it twice. Anyway, where do I want to start? So many places, so many things, so many people to shred. I got an email this morning. I'm going to start here because I was quite dismayed at this email, especially given the individual it came from. Well, you know, what can you expect actually when someone wants to hang around on a radio station I used to be on that the individual that owns it has got some fraud issues. I can't even be sure who she's calling. She got 20-something aliases. Anyway, I'm just looking for my page right now. I'm going to take a few swings tonight, I think. I'm going to head for the bleachers. I just think that would probably be the best thing. Because you know me, I'm not one to hold back. There was a bit of a discussion as well as far as opt, co-opt, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to throw a few nails into that one tonight as well. Kind of seal that one up once and for all. At least get people willing enough to stop deep throating the carrots they've been chasing, and maybe open their eyes and have a look and see what's out there. And I do like using terminologies that kind of shock people. Gives them visuals, because you see, when you give somebody a proper visual, look what the mass media does. They give you the visuals and you follow it. So I like using those too to make sure that the concepts I share stick. And anyway, I got an email from an individual who got word from another individual. I love this third party bullshit regarding Kevin Annett and talking about the common law courts and all the rest of it. Listen, my stance is very, very clear. Right? I've said it before. I'm going to keep saying it until people get the shit out of their ears. Get that foggy thing they call a brain actually working. Here it is, guys. It's called intent. Right? When you intend to do something, it means you have intention, and you got to look at the original intention for what it was. Right? And here we have a guy back in 1992 who started uncovering the genocide of the natives in Canada. And no sooner did he start opening his mouth did he start getting hassled by those that were his employers, i.e. the United Church of Canada. And you can read all about it in Kevin's book, Hidden from History, and there's a great documentary. You can get it online as well. You can go to itccs.org and check out the YouTube videos there to get some background, talking to the actual people that that were involved. Some of them actually in these videos were actually murdered. And I've worked with Kevin on and off the last, I guess about four or so years, and got to see things and hang out with him for a couple of days, and in the flesh even, doing some investigating and talking with some natives that were actually at the residential school that were very succinct in pointing to a big oak tree off to the right of the building where they had remember seeing a couple of their classmates hanging from it. It's pretty much enough for me, never mind the fact that digging up bones from trees, school uniform buttons. One of the things that we'd heard about was they like to dismember the kids so they could put them in the holes a lot easier, and they'd throw a tree over it so that eventually the roots would entangle the bones and everything else, so it just make it that much harder to find. Well, there's the rationale for, pull up a tree and see what you find, right? But anyway, the bottom line is this. This guy went off on a bit of a tirade. And I've talked about this, about another radio host doing the same thing. They're missing the point, Get your head out of your collective asses, guys. Point is, what Kevin exposed was something that needed to be exposed. He put his life in danger. It cost him his first family. That's a long story in and of itself. And you can talk about somebody having an agenda or whatever. I could care less, personally. I look at the work, I look at the net results of the work, and I look at the difference an individual makes. I assure you, Kevin didn't do this for fame and a state of grandeur. He's a man on a mission. And I would just ask those out there to have a look at the mission instead of, being a dickhead and trying to dispute this, that, and the other. And quite frankly, the individual that sent this email to me, I'm going to spare him on this pass. This is the only one, though. I'm going to spare him on it, so I'm not going to say who it is. You guys can figure it out if you want. But the fact is, they were going through, this guy went through and saying about the common law court this and the common law court that. It's all, nonsense. It's not recognized by you and all the rest of it. Yet these same fools are still thinking that they can solve something in this fucking system. I assure you, I spent 28 days in solitary proving that you can't. They changed the rules, you see, because they're their rules. They can do that. They're the ones running the bank on the monopoly board. They're the ones that are controlling the houses and the hotels. They're the ones that are controlling the railway stations and the utility companies. And they're the ones that generally own Boardwalk. And you'd be lucky, very lucky, if you end up with the $60 real estate on the first 4 or 5 spaces. So the joke's on you guys because you think you can actually do something within their system. So they've still got you spinning with your ego in one hand and your dick measuring contest in the other. So I would highly recommend that you step back and have a look at the bigger picture. Let's have a look at the intent. Let's have a look at the difference that we can make collectively instead of badgering those that are trying to make a difference. You call yourself a light worker or a light warrior, and you've got nothing better to do than disparage another one of our individuals that's actually put his life on the line, while you guys sit back and in the comfort of your own anal cavity typing out emails or sitting in the comfort of your chair as a radio host that has never actually got out there and done anything? Okay. I think we understand the playing field now. And I'm just going to level it, all right? So if you got nothing good to say, shut the fuck up. Is that fair? I thought that would be fair. Anyway. All right, so that's one out of the way. Let's move on to opt. Just going to take a breath for a sec. Okay, time's up. Anyway. All right, so that's that one out of the way. All right, can we just, please, guys, just stop? All right, and I don't give a shit what opt has done, UCC filing this and UCC filing that, and, corporations are, they're all dissolved. And so, I don't know, but I still see a whole lot of corporations in operation right now. And I'll tell you, the only time something is going to work is in the twinkling of an eye. And when I see it all collapse, then I know that somebody did something right, and not before it. Because while this nightmare illusion is around us, we're still in it. It hasn't really changed. We've chipped away at the cornerstone, yes, and that's what we're doing. That's what we do all the time. We chip. Eventually, the whole damn pyramid comes down, and that's what we're doing, and we're there. We are there. So we'll get there a little quicker if we stop beating the shit out of each other. All right, so consider this a chastisement for beating the shit out of my fellow light warriors. All right, because you're a light warrior too, and you're the one doing the disparaging. All right, so let's get on to opt a little bit. My position's crystal clear. And I think it was Otis. Thank you, Otis, for this. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, chances are it's system. Anything to do with system is system. I used an analogy. I won't share it tonight. I don't think it's probably appropriate, but it's one that really, really sinks in. I might, you never know. I'm in that kind of a mood tonight. But you can't be partway in the system and you can't be partway out. That's the bottom line. And I don't care what you say. I don't give a rat's royal ass what you say. I've lived these words. Okay? If you think because you know who you are and you can walk around and have ID, I'll tell you there's one point that you can actually do that. But there's a realization that comes before that. And I haven't heard it from many people. I've heard it from Tony. I've heard it from Santo. I've heard it from me. I've heard it from a few others. And it goes beyond the physical. It's an ethereal concept. And there's a certain question you have to ask yourself. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You've got to figure it out for yourself. Because until you understand what the id entity really is, it is the whore of Babylon. That's the mark of the beast. That's exactly what you're dealing with. And what we're trying to do here is remove that mark. So there's no part way in the system, part way out. That's it. So how do I want to put this? Okay, well, it's like this. You got a virgin lying in a bed. Could be a guy, girl, doesn't really matter. Let's just use a female because that's closer to what the metaphor of the whore of Babylon is all about. Now, you can make a choice. You can jump into bed with that virgin and turn that, figuratively speaking, into the whore of Babylon by doing something. Or you can abstain. I talked about this the other night, celibacy, right? Celibacy, the real celibacy, is to not be in bed with the whore of Babylon. You see, that's the metaphor that the priests missed. The one that they said, well, we're going to be celibate and just rape little boys. Because that's not like really having sex with anyone. That's different. No, it's not. Sorry. You see, rape of any kind is a power play. It's got nothing to do with sex. It's got everything to do with degradation. It's got everything to do with psychopathy. It's got everything to do with destroying another being's existence. Okay? So, the true celibacy is to not bed with the system. And people say, oh, Kate, it's so hard. No shit. I live it. I have for the last 2 years. It cost me everything. So, am I getted? Yeah, well, I decided to get out of that bed with the whore of Babylon, get out of commerce, the mer chant, the mermaids that are singing you ashore, and they're going to dash you on the rocks with that pitiful little vessel you think that you own. You don't. Okay, I'm going to give it in layman's terms here. I was in a bit of a chat back and forth with Mark, and no, there was no harm, no foul with it. It was I'm just trying to get a point across. So I'm going to share the point a bit further tonight. when you start understanding the universal law aspect that has been papered over with the corporate, you'll start to understand what the hell's going on here, and that this is a little bit deeper than paper. Right? There's City of London lawyer said it once to me. That's all I ever got out of him, too. Here, it's all about contract. Now, here would be physically here and ethereally here. So I never put a location on it. I kind of just took it for what he said, because it sounded kind of different the way he said it. So let's talk about contract. That's a free will consent. And people say, well, we don't need contracts. You make contracts every day. you make thousands of contracts in your thoughts. Every time you think of something, you've made a contract to create. Best be mindful of that and what you're creating. All right, so let's go a little deeper. You know, someone says, well, you know, it was all built in fraud, and I didn't know, my parents didn't know, and blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you've got to get to a point where you have to step outside of Babylon in order to get this concept. And if you haven't, if you're still carrying ID, and take this for what it's worth, guys. I'm not hammering at people. I'm just telling you what it is. This is what it is. If you can handle it, great. If you can't, there's nothing you can do. I've made a choice. This is my free will choice. I've stood in my truth, and I will stay there to the death. I will not yield it. That was my promise to the all. You can call it creator, whatever. I like to call it the all spark, and we're just little sparks of that. So, because as the Kabbalion will teach you very clearly, and I've been working on that with my webinars for the last couple of weeks, the all is knowable. All right? So you best stop trying to figure it out and just figure you out. All right? All right, where was I going? Ethereal. Let's talk about contract and how the fraud was. Well, there's a few layers to it. I mean, you can go back to, you know, the day your mom and dad said, I do, and then they went up and they signed a little. Of course, they're doing it in a church or something of that. Whether it's a church or it's all doesn't matter. It's still a church. It's still a court. They go up and they sign a contract, marriage license. All right. So what they do at that point, when you do it, and when you get married in a church, you've given away everything anyway, because you're in contract with that court because you got married there, right? You know, these are the things that people got to start worrying about and thinking about. One of the reasons why they don't like common law marriages. It's one of the reasons why they don't like people getting married outside of churches and not doing up a little legal piece of paper. And there's a very good reason for that, you see, because when you give up that piece of paper to the state, you've not only given up a physical contract, but you've given up an ethereal one too. And who can break the contract? Simple question. Who's the only one that can break a contract? The one that made it. So while we're spinning our heels here, trying to figure out how we get out of the system, we're still looking in all the wrong places. The only one that can get out of a contract is the one that went into it. So it kind of works backwards. It's not funny how it works backwards here. Everything's backwards. So not only with a marriage certificate did your parents give up the, marriage and any contracts made within that marriage, they gave up any fruits of their labors that comes out of it, be it material goods or babies. And this gets even deeper and deeper and deeper, and I need people to get down this friggin' rabbit hole to see what the hell it is I'm talking about. Because until you get down here, you won't see the ethereal side of this. This is a tangled web, guys. All right, there's many layers to it. There are many, many threads that are binding us. And it really takes a complete abolition of the system in your own mind and heart before you're going to be free. Now, with that being said, I have to tell you, it's not very easy not having a bank account, not having identification, not being able to, get a job if you wanted to, not being able to travel freely if you want to, the rest of it. Because, you can say all you want about, well, I have the right to, because this piece of paper says so. Because you say that, you just told them that your system. Do you not see that? If you have to lean on any one of their fucking rules, you are part of the system. You can't use their rules in your favor. You cannot. It wasn't designed that way. That's the trap, thinking that you have to. What kind of sovereignty is that? What kind of illusion are you bound in with that? You're trapped deeper than you can imagine. So I'm trying to give you something that at least gives you the viewpoint of how to get out. It's a simple answer. It's just not easy to do. I know, because I found both. It's not easy to do, but it was simple, and it was a gut-wrenching choice that I had to make. And it cost me my family. It cost me everything. I'm not saying that has to happen to people. I mean, the whole point of it right now is I don't want it to. So I'm trying to show people, these are the things that you can expect. Be ready for it and prep yourself. I mean, this is a lot of stuff that I didn't know was going to happen. I followed my heart. Woe betide the individual that does that. It might change the world. Okay? It's not a pity party either. I mean, would I change a thing for where I'm now? No. Because I wouldn't give back what I know now for anything. Because I know that in this stance, I move forward, and all will be revealed, and all will be fine, all will be well. I just got to get through this, and I'll stand. And that's all we're asking people to do. I mean, I'm looking at people like Tammy Pepperman, who's put her life on the line many times, and currently right now holding these assholes at bay and doing a very good job of it. But I got to tell you, it is nerve-wracking. It is gut-wrenching, because you're standing with only your wits, and they're standing with guns. So you got to walk a very careful, ethereal line, because there is a line they cannot cross. That I do know. And that's the line we're reaching for. And we're there. But it's going to take more numbers of us to be there. All right? Quick shout-out for birthdays. Happy Re-Entry Day, Tim and Gail. Very, very cool. I guess, yeah, well, that makes sense because that's the other side of the planet. So a little slow on the uptake, but there you go. Yeah, we got to have a little bit, yes. We have to have more faith in us. Absolutely. All right, so let's try to clarify this a bit more. Okay, we're rooked on every turn. Okay, the birth certificate was the bond that was given up for, as proof of sale, basically, right? And I've talked about this so many times. My stomach turns even talking about it now, but let's get this through here. All right, a birth certificate is the contract that your parents gave up. They already gave it up with the marriage, but they just really solidified it with the birth certificate. And only they can break the contract. In my case, both my parents are gone, so I guess I'm the executor of my state, huh? I'm not saying go out and off your parents, okay? There's nothing I like more than to have either one of my mom or dad, bitching at me for something. Go to bed, tidy your room. I miss that. But here we go. Your birth certificate is proof positive of the fraud. That's all it is. If you walk around with identification on you whatsoever, any identification whatsoever, anything system whatsoever, you are system. Your ass is owned ethereally and physically. Because the minute someone comes up to you with a shiny badge and a really dumb look on their face, and that's typical, and they say, what's your name? What's your date of birth? You answer them, you're contracted. Name, or nam, means distress, chattel, inventory. All right, so what's your inventory? They want to know what your inventory is. What's your vessel? Because they're going to board your vessel. And they can because, you're claiming to be part of the seafaring nations. And when you've got privateers, which is what they are, commissioned officers, privateers, pirates, paid pirates by government, and they will board your ship and they will steal all your cargo. And in some cases, they'll even kill you. Because until you get rid of the identification, you are the star of the zombie movies. That's what they're referencing when they talk about zombies. You're Walking Dead. Dead Man Walking. Remember the movie? Well, that's what everyone is. They're dead men walking. They've never come back to life. It goes to the Sestuik of Egypt. And that's why you guys really need to pay attention to the Tammy Pepperman show on Thursday night. And every chance I can get to have her in here is exactly what I want. She's got so much to say. Anyway, so, well, let me see. There's the train again. Sorry, guys. What is it with me and trains lately? I've got to look that up. Anyway, so you're starting to get an idea what I'm talking about here. You see, the thing about a birth certificate is you can't use it for identification. Go ahead, try. And they'll say, no, we need a piece of identification that doesn't work. And then you go to get a piece of identification from the government. And they say, well, what do they need to give you identification? Well, they need a copy of the birth certificate. They need your act of fraud to willingly, with your free will consent, go into agreement with the system. And that's what you do. And that's why every piece of identification, if you went and signed something, you gave away your ethereal power. That was your intent, you see, because before you sign anything, you must have the intent to do so. And that's what they're nailing you on. That's the difference between the physical fiction of actually doing it, which is only proof of the intent, and the ethereal spiritual intent of doing it in the first place, which is your decision. Oh, I'm going to sign that and get myself a driver's license. Hey, we all did it. I did it. It's no harm, no foul. It's hell of a ruse they pulled on us. What I'm saying is it's time to get over it. Move on. Get past it. See? Even the universe says so. Wake up. It's your wake-up call, guys. So, now I'm going to ask you this question. UCC. Yeah, I see the C. Of course I do. Oh, right, letters. I thought I was saying a sentence. UCC? Yeah, I see maritime. Maritime Admiralty Law. It's not a coincidence, guys. There are no coincidences. When we finally come to terms with it, and we start seeing it for what it is, the UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, doing anything commercial is Whore of Babylon. You see, in a natural sense, let's go back to the natives. Looking back through even the adulterated history books that I was able to go through, I never once saw a banking, wigwam or teepee. I didn't see a teepee with bank on it and some, well decked out, native with all sorts of gold and baubles and all the rest of it on it, making deals with other natives within the community. No, they didn't have that. What they did was they had community. They didn't need it. Right? Community worked together. And everyone had a great life. They all learned together, lived together. They actually knew each other. They weren't afraid to talk to somebody in an elevator. They had them. Now think about it. You walk down the street. How many people do you say hi to when you come across someone? When you walk into an elevator, how many people do you look at and say, hey, how's it going? Right? Most people won't do that. I will, just because I like seeing the shock on people's faces personally. But, again, it's just getting back down to common sense, and not only having it but actually applying it. So when I see something like Opt coming in with a lot of bubble gum and rainbows and butterflies and fluffy bunny slippers and carrots and all that, $10 billion each, and now it's all 10 I can go with. Absolutely. Take the system down. Doesn't mean to say I agree with the means, because all I see in the means is another trap, because it's trying to solve a system with the system that is actually controlling us in the first place. And I don't know about you, but I've looked at persons in Black's Law, and it certainly doesn't represent a living thing. It represents a corporation. And I would never declare anything to unclarify something. I would proclaim it, proclamation. I would do that. I mean, I can go through. I didn't have to go through much of the documents. I read a little bit of the stuff, and I just ran out of room. Bucket. I was puking all the things I was coming across. Because contrary to what people might think, I'm pretty well versed in legalese. I've spun more than one lawyer out in my day. Not hard to do. They're not very intelligent. Well, it's easy to pick on someone like that because they're taught to think inside a box. Well, this happened, so I have to reference this case, and well, this happened, so I have to reference this case, and they haven't got the original thought in their fucking heads. Same for the judges, but they're just not interested in what's going on. It's just a big act, just a big show. The only thing they're concerned about is running cattle through their gates so that they can, sheep, whatever you want. You can flip them, you can skin them, you can do whatever you want, and and if you're really good, they'll leave and they'll say, thank you, Your Honor. Well, occasionally they'll use a condom, I guess. I don't know. But the simple truth is, and someone asked me in an email, too, about, when I do paperwork, should I sign it as a sovereign? And if I do go into court, do I go in as a sovereign? You can imagine my face when I read that. And they wanted me to give a typed answer. It was an email. I said, no, get a hold of me on Skype. I could write a book just answering the first question. All right, so we're starting to catch on a little bit. Okay, again, I know there's a lot of beautiful people that are involved with Opt, and I know exactly why they are, because we're all sick of it. We're all tired of this bullshit. And something that comes along that actually looks promising and has some merit, which it does. If I were still stuck in the legal mindset, absolutely, it's got lots of merit. I could see where people that were still stuck in that would just jump all over this, like white on rice. Well, the smarter ones wouldn't, because they'd understand what a person is. So anyone that's got a legal head on their shoulders and they're jumping all over this, and they miss that one, they might want to reevaluate their entire existence in terms of what they think they know about the legal system, because they don't know the first fucking thing personally. But that's just me. And I don't need to mention any names there either, because there's a few pretty heady people that do their stuff that are on this boat, and they're not being very wise about it because they're missing the obvious clues out front. Well, it just needs a little fixing here and fixing there. Well, still, it remains to be seen. Let's see where it goes. But I'm all for the intent of taking the system down, if that is the intent. But then, when you see a COINTELPRO operation, what is their general intent? Well, it's to take that beautiful energy that's flowing in one direction, that's crushing the system, and redirecting it into something else to support the system. So, you see, in the truest sense, anyone that's jumping on board Opt is actually in support of the system. It's that simple. I'm going to let that one sink in. Walks like a duck, it looks like a duck, and quacks like a duck. It is a duck. It looks like UCC, smells like UCC, sounds like UCC, reads like UCC. It's system. Spelled CYST-EM. Yeah, put another big cyst on you. There we go. I'm really hoping that Santo jumps in tonight. Save your guys' ears, right? Oh, it looks like another troller hitting me here. What is it with these guys? Not interested. Where are we here? Oh, just got an email from Patrice. Wonder if she's near her phone. Anyway, she had sent me something today as well, and excellent Light Warrior progress, Eric Holder. Criminal charges against large banks would hurt the economy. Are you kidding me? Anyway, I guess too big to fail, too big to jail. How much of that do you think the people are going to put up with? Seriously. Stop and think about it. How much of that would you put up with? And I know the people listening to this show, not only do they have thick skin and can tolerate me, they got not only a heart or a mind, they have a heart to go with it. And that's the key, putting them both together and figuring it out, right? Because while I might sound ranty and bitchy some nights, it's not because I'm, mad or hateful or angry. I'm just tired of it. I'm just tired. I mean, people bashing other people and what have you, and it's like, why is it I feel so many times I have to come in and go, okay, kids, can you, try to play together a little better. Let her have the Barbie. You can play with it later. And, pass over the Tonka. Yeah, there you go. And then, now you're playing together. And that's what it feels like. I kid you not. That's what it feels like most days. I'm just very, very lucky that I have so many beautiful people around me that help me keep my sanity in this crazy box that everyone seems to want to live in. But there you go. I think maybe I might even play a song or two tonight. I'm always a little leery about playing it on Blog Talk for some reason. Oh, we got a caller in, so I'm gonna bring the caller in. Code 804. You're on the air. Caller.
Hello, Kate. It's Hugh. How are you tonight?
I recognize the number. I'm getting to know John's better. Jeremiah's. I see the 804. I'm thinking, it might be Hugh. Now how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It is Hugh. How are you?
Good. Yeah, so...
I heard you talking about that Opt. I was on that show last night. I don't know if you heard the whole show.
Yeah. Oh, was that the one with you and Dean on the Conscious Living show?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have the link. I haven't had a chance to go through it yet, but I definitely want to listen to it because I heard there was a lot of good arguments pro and good arguments against. So I mean,
I still can't figure out in my head how people are going to react when they're told, "Oh, you got $10 billion," or and then there's no money there. They spent it all. The trillions of dollars went down the drain when the banks took it. If they do have hoards of gold and stuff, you can't eat that either. So I mean, it's people helping people.
That's exactly it. It goes right back to that native culture thing, where we're actually a community working together instead of competing against each other like the wilderness.
Well, that's why I called in, because my partner just had the indigenous gentleman on his show again tonight, and they have a site up. It's not active, but there are things that can be seen. It's LakotaGrandmothers.org, and April 1st they're going to kick off a 9-city tour, ending up eventually in Washington, D.C. I don't think the grandmothers ever went to Washington, and they're the matriarchal.
Yeah, they did. Again, that's all the laws. I mean, the vast majority of the indigenous, the native cultures, were all matriarchal, and
right.
The fact that a male chief, and that's of course a North American term, by the way, chief is not a native term. They're the ones that put their act whatever on the treaties, and they're null and void at that point anyway. And
exactly.
I'm guessing,
so this is going to be quite fascinating. I hope you'll be able to spread the word about it and follow it. And
I'll tell you, the Lakota are one of the few that know exactly who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they've got my full support.
Yeah. Well, if you want to go on, go on the HughCharlson.wordpress.com, and then you'll be able to see Chanupa. He's the leader of the Strong Hearts, and that's a global organization, and he's constantly on my partner's blog talk show, Focus Change, and this whole thing is going to kick off April 1st in Rapid City, South Dakota, and they're looking for people to do whatever they can to rally around and give them all kinds of support, especially moral support, because these grandmothers, I don't know how their health is. Some of them, they're bound and determined to get their voice heard now.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of a bit of a reputation about ranting on the air and stuff, and making sure people have a platform to do the same. So, you can count on that. And I think we have Jeremiah, do we?
You're absolutely right. How's it going, Kate? Wonderful show.
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. I'm really enjoying your breaking down of OPPT and how, I'm pretty convinced at this point, I think, as far as the intentions behind it, because you're right, a carrot. You're just chasing carrots at this point. If people are, really intrigued by the idea that they're going to get, I guess, $10 billion or whatever it was, just that money factor amount and just keeping that idea alive is just perpetuating the system. So it's poison as far as I know, and I really feel like that there are some just negative intentions behind it, and those people that are following it right now, they are following down a dangerous path. But most people will hopefully see that, and then they'll realize, well, hey, it's the system all along. We got to wake up and we got to stop feeding into it. And I am a culprit right now. I'm currently within the system, and it's with my wife. She's coming around to this information, but not really absorbing it the way that I have, and I'm still absorbing it to this day, and I'm still learning new things. So I am very eager to get out of this system as fast as I can, because now that I know what it's all about, I just want out so badly, and I'm ready to accept whatever the universe has to offer at this point to make it possible. I just hope that I take my wife with me, because I know that I'm here to help her see this, and that's all I want to do is just help her out. So I guess if I'm still in the system, it's for it's just trying to help her see it. So whatever the universe says at this point, whatever feels right, wherever my heart takes me, I will go, and I'm sure it will be for the best.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a baby step for people, and you can use this excuse if you want. Forget your wallet and your purse at home when you go out. Take what you need if you're going to carry fiat or whatever. Again, I'm heavily against credit cards because they really love to monetize the crap out of the slips after they get them. Signed or not, doesn't matter. They're going to monetize it because the intention was there. You see, so it's even gotten to the point now where they're look at a ticket. You don't even have to sign a ticket anymore because the intention is there because you're part of the system. It's assumed. It's always by assumption in this friggin' system. It's already assumed that because you're traveling and you have identification, I don't need a signature anymore because you've got ID. So, and I'm just saying, it's not to say that you have to throw it away, but start getting used to the idea of actually not carrying it, and you'll start to see how strong a pull that little id entity has on you, how deep its claws go into your psyche. What am I going to do if I don't have this? What am I going to do if I don't have that? And why don't you experience it? And you can always say, hey, listen, I'm always afraid of losing it, or better yet, had it stolen once or lost it once. So I keep all my identification in a safe, and I rarely ever need it. So I can always provide that if need be. For me, it's just a psychological process of getting used to that separation. Saying goodbye to that friend that needs to stay at home for the time being until you can finally get rid of it. But again, it's just people, you don't have to do what I did, and I don't recommend it. Simply because it's not an easy road. But if you take baby steps and we start doing it together, it becomes a team effort, and it's not just one or two people that have went right out on. Never mind going out in the limb. I'm at the base of that tree, and I took a chainsaw to it. You don't have to do that, but you do have to do something. You do have to start moving in that direction, because until you do, you're not only trapped in the physical sense, but you're trapped in the ethereal, because they own your mind, and that's what you need to claim back. That's where your sovereignty truly lies. It lies within you, and it doesn't lie in a piece of paper that says John Smith or whatever. That's a fiction. That is a creation. That is a pure fraud. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I've had it out of the mouth of a British consulate individual who took care of things like passports and whatever. And these guys, people that work at embassies and consulates, know their shit. They know what's going on. And I know, based on even the conversations I've had with reception, who stopped answering my calls. They won't even take my call at the embassy anymore. What's that tell you? Because I scare the shit out of them. Right? Because I asked the questions that need to be asked. And the one question I asked of this gentleman, his name was Page. He's no longer at the Ottawa consulate because I wonder why. After I got my passport, by the way, here it is. That's my passport. I carry it as my little trophy. Nice beige with gold writing, emergency, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, emergency passport that I got on my terms, as an ambassador no less. Hey, well, I can put whatever title I want in there, right? So the point is, guys, it's about breaking free of that ethereal connection. British consulate Page, what he told me, actually what I told him and what he confirmed and then told me back, I said to him, I says, I'm transgender, so I had a beautiful angle to come in on this. He says, that's not my name. I don't identify with it. And I don't want to get, I don't want to give legal joinder to my chosen name because it's mine. I chose it. I'm not giving it away to anyone. It's mine. It's what people customarily call me. So what I can do is, get permission from you, because that name that was on the birth certificate is not mine. That's Crown property. My parents gave that up, and if I were to use that without your permission, because my parents never negated the contract, if I was to use that without your permission, I'd actually be committing fraud. You don't want me to commit fraud, do you? And he goes, well, no, we don't want you doing that. He says, well, you see, so there's the dilemma I'm in. Go ahead.
Well, I was just laughing. Go ahead.
Yeah. And again, I spent no less than 3 hours on the phone with this guy, and I went through a lot of details with him, and I cornered him on every turn where he had no choice but to say, "No problem, Kate. Yeah, all you have to do is, you have to come here in the flesh." And I said, "I know that. You need to recognize me." And he goes, "Yes." And I didn't actually fill out an application until I got there, and I was very ambiguous with it. I wrote my own notes on it, not to be misconstrued as joinder or contract in any way. It is merely for the benefit of those that are working in the system that are ignorant of the situation and that I do not wish to be harmed. And I had an ambassador, and Mr., Miss, Mrs., whatever, I put ambassador. And that's on file, baby. They took it on file. 20 minutes later, I had a passport in my hand. And that was a lot of hoops I had to jump through, but the hoops that I jumped through confirmed a lot of things for me. And please don't take this light, guys, because it was actually, it cost me my dad. My dad, I would never have got this information if my dad were still alive today. So don't take it lightly. I mean, for me, this was his gift to me, because he knew what I was doing. He didn't fully get what I was doing, but he knew that I was right. And he's always known that I will stand in that light. So I'm just going through some memories talking with him. And so don't take that gift lightly, please. It cost me my dad. And I would just ask that you listen and take the truth for what it is. If you're using anything with what you perceive to be your name, whether your parents gave it to you or not, is irrelevant. Because they gave it away before they even gave the birth certificate in at a marriage. If it was done in a church, done in a chapel, done in a city hall, whatever, and you can pretty much bank that 90% of the weddings that go on happen in those buildings. Those are Vatican buildings, and it all ties back to the Vatican, City of London, and Washington, D.C. All the corporations are through D.C. now. All of them. That's their central headquarters. I mean, the United Nations is the capital of the world. And if you don't think I'm telling you the truth, you need to listen to Tammy Pepperman a bit more. Get your head straight with that. I mean, that's why I was saying to Hugh there about Lakota. There are people that know who the hell they are, and they're not taking shit from anyone. But anyway, enough of my little rant. But you get the idea what I'm talking about, though, right?
Absolutely. I totally get it. I really do. You really want to go about it like the way that you went about it was it had its consequences, pretty severe consequences from what I'm hearing, and there were sacrifices made, some pretty severe ones, and you pretty much were a trailblazer at this point. So you want to be able to help people see that you don't have to go down that path, and that there are more logical steps to take, where you're not making these extreme sacrifices, and it's more of a transition rather than a abrupt change.
Yeah, and I will add to that. You're absolutely right. And again, they were extreme situations that I was in, but it wasn't because I chose that. It was because of the position of truth that I stood in, and I didn't give myself any leeway. I made a deal: truth or nothing. Right. So, in as much as I wanted to do things differently, in a more, how do you put it, in a more gentle manner. The stuff that I was uncovering at the rate I was uncovering it made a lot of people nervous. And yeah, the trail is definitely blazed. The truth is there if people are willing to have it. I can. It's the old lead a horse to water. You can't make a drink, and you can go even further in this system. Damn horse doesn't even know it's thirsty, and it'll probably die of thirst before it realizes it anyway, But, it's you can transition it. The thing is, what I've done, and others have done it, like Arthur Christian, same situation. I mean, the system came at him fast and furious. And we're pretty much on the identical page as far as the system is concerned. That is the mark of the beast. That is Babylon. And you can reference the Bible, and I really wish people would on this, and not from a religious religiocosus chosenitis, praise Jesus perspective. No. It's a very factual book in so many ways. Most people don't know how to read it. They think it's a storybook. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's a biology book. It's a spiritual book. It is a physics book. It is an astrotheological book. It's got all of those things, and they're all in there. It's amazing. I mean, it's an incredible piece of literature, not to be taken literally at all. But yeah. Sorry about that. I just this is a subject, and it's not because of what I've been through. It's just I don't want to see anybody else have to go through it. That's the point I'm trying to make. They don't, but they do have to do something. You can't. People cannot stand on the sidelines and go, well, I hope they do that for me. What are you doing for yourself? Bill Donahue said it so beautiful one night. One of his videos, he was talking about. Someone gets to heaven and they said, well, I believe in Jesus and that and the other. And I said, well, that's not what you were supposed to do, stupid. You were supposed to be Jesus. You missed the lesson. At what point does somebody else die for you? The whole idea is, are you, that individual is willing to die for you. Are you willing to die for them? You've got to mirror it. And that's the level of commitment you got to make to your fellow man. And if we do that, we don't ever have to worry about needing to die for someone, because we're all in harmony at that point. So yeah, it's a really weird little planet to live on. I got to tell you, and I got something else too. I've been like this my whole life.
It really is. It's blowing my mind more and more every day, and I'm just adapting to this new information and just trying to. Just kind of live in this system, but out of it at the same time. And like I said, with my wife and her having her doubts and restrictions and limited beliefs, it does make it difficult on my part. But if it wasn't challenging, then it wouldn't be worth it, I guess. So I'm learning a lot about, myself and this world and really this world. And especially through Brett Stilling's work, and I'm still wrapping my head around that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's going to be pretty incredible to see what's going to happen. I guess my only concern right now is with all of the news that's coming out with the Pope resigning in response to like you said, the OPPT. Like, was it because of that, or was it the plan all along? Like, do they? I mean, do they still have? Wow, sorry.
I was going to say, or was it Kevin and Ned, or was it the 100 or more emails I sent? Was it we can go through a lot of things. Was it Danica Ultimatum that revealed things? Was it the Invocation of the Cross? Was it OPPT? Was it ITCCS? It doesn't matter. It's a collective. We're all part of it. And this is a thing, and we have to start gathering together and claiming things together. Because if you're trying to be, look at me, that's super ego. I know. Yeah. I lived on stage in a place where I did not want to be, because I did it because I could, not because I needed to satiate something. Yeah, it was a great time, but it was very nerve-wracking for me, having to remember, a couple of thousand words in a row with all the chords to go with it every night. Yeah, that gets a bit stressful. I mean, it's easy after you train up for it, but the simple fact was, I worked doing like songwriter cafe, like songwriters that come in. It was all original stuff only, and I got to tell you, I mean, I saw all levels of attitude. I mean, I was in the game. I played it, Nashville, the whole thing. I've been there, and it's amazing how. And it was always the ones that were really the worst in terms of playing and writing ability, that had the biggest egos of all. It drove me nuts. And I said, you know what, get some. And I was nice about it. I never said it, but I'm thinking, you know what, get some talent before you start shooting your mouth off. And just try not to take yourself so seriously. I do my thing, everyone else does theirs. It's all beautiful, and we don't need to have what you think of you rammed down everybody's throat, because I'll tell you, everyone felt it. That was the community we had, right? It was, people that would do that, you kind of look at them and go, boy, they're in love with themselves, eh? you know, we all sat at the same table. It was all level, and some people decided to pick a higher stool. That was all. But yeah, so you're right, Jeremiah. It had nothing to do with one, and it had everything to do with one. You know, so, and who knows and who cares if the system comes down, not if, when the system comes down, that means we all got it together and we got it right.
Exactly. And it is a collective intention from everyone, because we all do want this, and that's where we're going. And this is falling according to the cosmos. You know, I mean, even in the cosmos itself, I mean, everything's collapsing. So it's, I guess it's really up to us to change this timeline, and for each and every one of us, you know, to contribute to the peaceful and you know, just the awareness of who we really are. And it's just like I'm in a Logan lot right now. I'm in Logan Airport, just kind of like looking around and seeing everyone just, you know, driving their vehicles and picking up people, and like The Walking Dead, you know. And how do I get to these people? Like, the only way that happens is if, you know, they want to know, if they have the eyes to see or the ears to hear. Like, what can I post? You know, I mean, how can we wake these people up? And these are the thoughts that go in my head, because, you know, that's the most important thing. Like, how can we break this down for someone so it's so easy to understand, or rather comprehend, and just see it for what it really is, and then people can start empowering themselves.
Yeah, well, get a rubber stamp made up. It says property of Rothschilds. It doesn't have to be big, and start stamping all the ferns with it, because that's what it is. Every debt note on this planet belongs to the Rothschilds. You're actually using their money in fraud.
Yeah.
You know, so I tell you, you know, if someone picks up a $20, $20 bill, sounds like debt almost, doesn't it? Bill? Yeah. Anyway, pick up a $20 bill and it says property of Rothschilds. They might actually, what? But again, it's about planting seeds. You don't have to plant a forest. You just got to put one seed in. Let it grow by itself. And the thing is, and you made a very valid and very important point there. You cannot go out and try to tell people, because you're trespassing on their free will choice to be ignorant. You're trespassing on their free will choice to sit in that lazy boy sucking back their aspartame poison while they're munching down Dorito poison. You know, Let them do it. The only thing that we can do, and the only thing we should do, is be the change we want to see. And the minute you start working on the internal, and this is where the mental universe kicks in. Once we make that decision within ourselves, that's when things will start to change. I mean, I'm one of the fortunate ones in that I have a voice, I have a show, and I can share it for those willing to, of their free will choice, to listen or not. And I'll guarantee you, everyone that's listening to this show is exactly the kind of people that are going to change this world, because they're tuned in.
Absolutely, and they're informed, most importantly, and beautifully informed, genuinely informed, and this is the truth. This is the absolute truth.
Well, you know, we do try. You know, I'm never going to say I'm right all the time. I'm never going to say I'm wrong all the time. But I will tell you, I'll speak from the heart, and I got to tell you as well. I'm always willing to eat crow pie at Kerry Cutlery just for that. And in a situation like Opt, I pray that I'm wrong, and I'm ready to eat the crow pie, but I don't think I will. You know, but regardless, let's stay on the intent. Let's stay on the solution, and the solution is we all agree that the system needs to come down. That's all you need to have. And once we get that seeping through the consciousness, and of course it's getting easier by the day because these guys are pushing harder and harder against the people, and the people have had enough. They're at their breaking point.
Yeah, that's true right there. Exactly, because you know, with the Second Amendment, you know, thing coming around and all that, like, people are starting to like see the correlations, and Facebook is littered with all of this, you know, information. As far as what my Facebook is, it's just what I'm attracting. I mean, I don't know if everyone else is seeing all of these, you know, liberation posts and just like exposing all of the corruption and and just connecting the dots for everyone. I mean, it's so widespread right now, and you could say the free man movement, is growing more and more every day.
Oh, absolutely. So, and I won't even call it the free man movement. I won't call it the sovereign movement. I won't call it anything. What I just refer to it as people are awakening to the nonsense. They're tired of kindergarten. They'd like to get to grade 1 now.
That sounds good. That's much better. I like that. Movements is kind of has a stigma attached to it. Definitely,
it's a brand. It's a branding, just like a badge, And you know what the little doggies like? They like to have, oh, you must be a free man or a sovereign citizen. Okay, Roboton.
Yeah.
Hey, did you come up with that script all by yourself, or is that what they rammed down your throat for the hour before you hit the beat today?
Yeah, you're already equipped for it and ready to react in that certain way.
Yeah, and I've said it before, and I will say it again. Anytime you are confronted by any of these armed individuals, your life is in danger. Act accordingly.
And just don't comply at that point.
Don't comply and don't be rude.
Don't be rude, exactly. Like stand in honor, stand in truth, stand in peace, stand in respect, and know that the reason that they're on this beat is because that's what they've attracted, and it's all past beliefs and what they feel that they need to experience at this time.
Yeah, and with me, this is me, okay, guys. So just take it from me. It's like I have an issue looking at cops square in the eyes and saying, "No problem, RoboCop." I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem standing my ground. I kind of have this thing about me, and I don't know what it is. I've had it explained to me a couple of times. I go back to the human design chart, and there's this little line called the 59-6 dissolution line. And apparently, when you have that, and it actually works. I know a few people that do, and my one friend, actually, it's funny. He'll make a point of deliberately, like walking through a mall. I don't go to those places, but he'll walk through a mall, and people will part in front of him. They will move out of his way, and it's not like he's being forceful, but people just kind of, it's like this energy wave in front of them. They just part like the Red Sea, and with me, these guys don't scare me. What are you going to do, kill me? I'm just going to come back and piss you off again anyway.
Yeah.
You ain't killing me. You might drop a meat stick or two, but you ain't killing me. Sorry. You deal with it now or deal with it later. Your call. I'll tell you, if you're dealing with it later, I'm coming back next year. And a whole lot stronger and a whole lot wiser, because I'm taking all the lessons I learned from this at my save point, which is the drop body point, and I'm moving to the next level with it. So, you go down. They're going down now anyway. But the thing is, that's the tour de force I come with. I don't care. And as fearful, and I got to tell you, I've worked the dichotomy my entire life of living in absolute terror of myself. So I kind of got used to that. I got comfortable with terror. It was like stage and all the rest of it. I got comfortable with it, where it didn't control me anymore. Where it was there, I was very evident of it, and it gave me the edge that I needed. Kept me on my toes, and brain clicks into gear, top dog, like right at the instant. But I'm fearless at the same time, because I don't care. I know what truth is, and I'm not going to yield from it. And I'll stand and look at a cop in the face, and I've done it. Standing in the cop shop the night they raided my house, I'm walking out. Slick Dick Kevin, whatever the detective, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, all I can remember is a dopey look on his face every time I saw him. But as I was walking out, they just stole my house and everything else, and I'm standing in the station. There's cops all over the place, and I looked at this guy. He said something to me. I said, "Yeah, go fuck yourself," and I just walked out. And they all just stood there. It's like, and it was funny. He had like 5 or 6 cops in one of the, it wasn't a holding cell, but it was like this, the room before you go into the holding cell. Anyway, just as I was getting ready to go, and they're trying to give me this ticket for driving without a license. Well, fuck, it's not mine. You guys took it, and it's not mine. It's property of Ontario. I told you that, you morons. Anyway, they tried to give me that, but it's funny. They're all gathered around like like a wolf pack. As soon as I move, they part. That's the power they have, guys. Just stand your ground, stand it peacefully, and stand with assertion, not with anger. And that's the thing with me is I may come across as pissed off and all the rest of it, and it's not that at all. That's called certainty of who I am, and I'm not going to take any bullshit from anybody because I wouldn't do it to you. You harm me where I would never harm you, and you get to wear that. That's coming back to haunt you. I'm going to read a little section from the Kabbalion in a little bit. Let you guys talk for a bit. Hugh, jump in here, my friend.
I was going to ask you a question, and also related to Jeremiah. If you want to get people awake more, find out things that resonate with you and post it. I mean, I was on Kate's show just recently, and there's a lot to see about me. If you want to share my name with him, Kate, I mean, he can post documents, Wall Street Journal article, front page from back in the 80s, where that was at the beginning of the SNL scandal that went down back then, and I indirectly had the Speaker of the House resign in shame. That's one person taking action. So,
if but one shall awaken.
I'm sorry?
If but one shall awaken. That applies to everyone.
Now, I wanted to have a little fun with you in this respect. You mentioned that your passport says you're an ambassador now?
Well, no, it's that was the application. I put that on there, so they had to keep that in file, right?
So, can you be considered an ambassador at all?
Of course, I put it on the paper. That's what I am.
All right. So
I chose it. They didn't.
What are you, an ambassador of a country or just an ambassador?
I'm an Earthling ambassador.
All right. Now, here's the kicker. Are you familiar with diplomatic pouches?
Yes, I am.
Are you entitled to one as an ambassador? I think you should be.
I probably could be.
That's some fun for you to have.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
And they are not allowed to search that.
No, they're not. I think there's only something like 60 or 70 of those in the world, by the way.
I would love to see you take your ambassador's pouch down to the UN.
That would be fun.
And coordinate it when the grandmothers get there, because they're going there.
Well, that's exactly it. And you see, if you've been following Tammy's work at all, that's exactly the angle she's coming from, because the female is that which gives creation to the system.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it's patriarchal is they want to control the feminine creative essence of spirit, which is the Regis stir, to rule feminine creative spirit essence, right? That's when you register, what you're doing is you're giving up that feminine aspect. And if you understand anything about the cosmic laws, there is a law of gender, that there is male and female and everything, so equally, by the way, I should add. And you might want to consider that even the male has given away their female part. And because there is the principle of gender is that there is masculine and feminine in everything, and it's only to the degree that it's out of balance that people are, they get wonky. There is one little, I'd read this to a friend of mine tonight, because I'll be covering this on the next it's chapter 7, I think, on the next webinar that I do from the Kabbalion. And I just want to read this so that people, start taking heart and understanding that this is what is. This is what is, and people need to get this. It's not a very difficult thing to get your head around either, because this comes out very, very simple. I'm just looking for that word. Where is it? True meaning of it. Okay, chapter 7. I think it's in chapter 7. Talk away, guys, while I'm looking for this.
Well, thank you, Hugh. Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to link up, and I'll have to receive that information from you, because I post
I
all over.
don't use email or anything. I'm a global visionary, but if you have the opportunity to take my name down, or you can pull the archives of the show up, it's Hugh, H-U-G-H, Traulsen, T like Tom, R-A-U-L-S-E-N like Nancy, and then there's an interview I did in addition to Kate's show recently. I did it last month. It's, if you put after my name the words Synchro, S-Y-N-C-H-R-O, Mystic, M-Y-S-T-I-C, Encounters, Hugh Traulsen, Synchro Mystic Encounters. And on that site, there's actually the front page Wall Street Journal article I mentioned and some other documents and other links. And then related to the Lakotas, they just are activating a site very soon, and anything you can do to draw attention globally to what they're doing would be terrific. If you just Google LakotaGrandmothers.org, and then there's a WordPress site that I have, and there's a P.O. Box address for donations to the leader of the Strong Hearts, and that's hughtrolson.wordpress.com, and you'll actually see a YouTube of Chinupa Guhamani, the leader of the Strong Hearts, on a YouTube that's on that site also. And there's also some business opportunities on there too. I'm actually bringing, I don't like the economy, so I'm creating my own economy, or creating a new economy for mankind. It's bringing truth and transparency to the forefront, and forcing companies to be more responsible for their employees, their customers, the environment, and the community. And it's also it's bringing ethics and morality and all of that to the forefront with the truth and transparency. And as people wake up, or you can tell them, why do you buy products out of China through Walmart for your kids? Your kids have no choice, but can't you do a little better and think more of your children, and perhaps buy a product from Canada or America, or a country that has better quality products than just buying what the corporates want you to get for the cheapest price out of China? They laugh. They have so much manufacturing defects, they don't care. And again, there's so much on the internet that you can find. I'll throw out a couple of sites and books that you can see, that you can tell people, here, read this, self-educate. And there's a gentleman, his name is Dr. James Canton, C-A-N-T-O-N. He's got a book called The Extreme Future, and I think he goes by the Global Futurist. He's based in San Francisco, and very, very extensive website. He's a futurist, but he paints out in his book different scenarios. We're on the bad side of what can be done right now, but we can change all that. And what we have to fully realize constantly is two things: that we're not in charge. God's in charge. So what we have to do is get that heart-to-God alignment and ask for divine guidance. You may not know what your mission is. It may be big, it may be small, but if you just ask daily to have that guidance, and as you find what your passion is and pursue that, then you and to stay on course, and as long as you're helping other people along the way, especially those who can't help themselves, you'll be blessed. You'll see your life transform right before your eyes. I know I have.
Yeah, absolutely. I found what I wanted to share with you guys and the listeners. This I think you'll find this very enlightening and very inspiring. This is out of the Kabbalion. If anybody wants it, tag me on Facebook, and I'll make arrangements. I've got a copy of it, and it's actually, I can just post a link. I'll post it actually on my Facebook. So Facebook, by the way, for people who want to get me, it's kate.rene.5, KATE.RENE.5. Real easy. Okay, so here it is. To occultists, the word spirit is used in the sense of the animating principle, carrying with it the idea of power, living energy, mystic force, etc. And occultists know that which is known to them as spiritual power may be employed for evil as well as good ends, in accordance with the principles of polarity, a fact which has been recognized by the majority of religions in their conceptions of Satan, Beelzebub, the devil, Lucifer, fallen angels, etc. And so the knowledge regarding these planes has been kept in the Holy of Holies in all esoteric fraternities and occult orders, in the secret chamber of the temple. But this may be said here, that those who have attained high spiritual powers and have misused them have a terrible fate in store for them. And the swing of the pendulum of rhythm will inevitably swing them back to the furthest extreme of material existence, from which point they must retrace their steps spiritward, along the weary rounds of the path, but always with the added torture of having always with them and a lingering memory of the heights from which they fell owing to their evil actions. The legends of the fallen angels have a basis in actual facts, as all advanced occultists know. The striving for selfish power on the spiritual planes inevitably results in the selfish soul losing its spiritual balance and falling back as far as it had previously risen. But to even such a soul, the opportunity of a return is given, and such souls make the return journey, paying the terrible penalty according to the invariable law.
Very nice.
What ye sow, so shall ye reap. You see, so justice is already dealt up the instant the intent is made to cause harm. That's the golden rule.
Yeah, and I equate to open people's minds too. I say, because people think in such limited terms. I take somebody like Hitler and the karma that he has. I said, he's probably 500 trillion galaxies away from this planet on a little asteroid as a cockroach getting eaten every day, and he's going to have to work his way back through the eons to try and be a little better the next time.
But wouldn't you say that he had asked for that particular experience?
Go ahead. When you say experience, there is a New Age thing that we're all here, we're all God, we're all here to experience and be a part of God. No. We all have a God spark in us, and what we're here for is to bring unconditional love into the world. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And anything other than that, you're going to have to answer for when you go back into spirit, and that's where your focus should be, is solutions and love.
Yeah, again, and you speak of the little spark of God and all of this. Absolutely. And the game here is to try to move in the direction, because all goes back to the all in the ebb and flow, i.e. the breathing out and the out breath and the in breath. Again, the all is the unknowable. So stop trying. The game here is be able to know what you can know. And follow your heart. Your heart will tell you. The compassionate heart, for me, is the center core of my existence. Where, in as much as I can look at the crimes of, what the Pope and the Queen and all the rest of it, I consider Hitler a mild version of this. Because, a lot of the history that we've been taught, most people don't understand that Hitler was doing his utmost to avoid war. A lot of people don't know that. He didn't want war, especially with England. The bloodlines of the royal family were all German. Edward was good friends with Adolf, Edward VIII, that abdicated. They were all, pretty tight-knit, so he didn't want that. It was Churchill that wanted it, of course, the Zionist agenda and what have you. But that's getting off topic here. Getting back to the karmic aspect of retracing our steps. I look at Hitler and I say, he fought a war that he didn't want to fight, and there was a lot of atrocities that happened to it, and he was caught in a very desperate situation of literal survival once he kicked the Rothschild banks out. That was what he ended up fighting against mostly. But and it cost a lot of lives, German lives, North American, millions of lives. And, we can get into other things, subjects that I don't even want to talk about, because there's so much disinformation regarding certain events that occurred during World War II that were blown out of proportion for nefarious political reasons, and to, keep that lie permeated in the psyche, just to make sure that the trick can happen again, and they're pulling the same stunt. So be mindful of that.
Was that right? Like with the guns removing, like I believe, like people made references to saying that was the first thing, in Nazi Germany. Show them your papers, and the guns went first. Was that just the accuracy of what happened, or are they trying to repeat that now?
Well, again, you're dealing with the Bush family are all a bunch of Nazis. They're transplanted from Germany. Bush senior, Prescott, he got some serious wrist slapping because he was, with the Dealing with the Enemy Act, because he was selling a bunch of shit to the Germans. you got to start looking back at these. Look at all the people that are in the positions of power, the Rumsfelds and the Cheneys and the Bushes and what was his name, Wolf. There's so many of them. But anyway, start looking at their families and tracing them back, and you might be surprised at what you find. And there's a lot of people who have done that homework. You see, because here's the thing: the history that we've been taught, and here we are off topic, but whatever. The history that we've been taught was taught to us by the defense contractors, Rand McNally, right? Rand Corporation. Have a look. Look at who they are, and they're the ones that are partnered up with putting all the books in the schools. What do you think they might want to sell? Their version of history, of course, because the books that you're reading are the versions written by the victor, not the vanquished. And I've had a lot of different stories told to me from people that were actually there. One case, a client that I had, she was a little girl, and her uncle was a Junkers Ju-52 cargo pilot, and she remembers she was in eastern Germany, and she remembers it was a day or two ahead of. She told me the story one day. It was a fascinating story, where ahead of the Russians coming into Germany, I think she was on one of the last flights out, and it was her uncle that was actually flying the plane to get a bunch of people away from the front lines, trying to save their families. And I mean, there's so many human stories that exist that you'll never see in the history books, and you're going to get a totally different feel for it. You're going to get a totally different sense. I mean, I look at the U.S., for example, in the same way that I look at pre-war Germany, in that you've got people that are, rah the flag, and I said it last night. Here you are swearing allegiance to a piece of fucking cloth. Wake up. At what point? I pledge allegiance to the flag and for what it stands? It's an inanimate object, guys. You might want to
ask you, Kate, have you ever come across, and this is on YouTube too, what a colorful character. If you have never come across him, I hope you have him as a guest, Willie Whitefeather.
Yeah, I actually did. I was on 2 shows with him.
Oh, isn't he something?
Yeah.
Now, there's something if you just bring people to his YouTubes. He's even got that survival book for kids that have saved children's lives and things. Absolutely phenomenal. Yeah.
Willie Whitefeather did a couple of shows with him on a previous radio platform. Yeah, wonderful individual.
Right.
Got his stuff together too. That man. It's definitely. I've got to go back through my archives and have a look and start pulling up some stuff again. But getting back on track of what we've been going over tonight with regards to this quote awakening unquote. We have to keep our eyes on the prize and do not be distracted by just because you got the basketball in the hoop the first time and you get the first level prize. It's going to take a few more tosses to get to the main prize, and we're literally one toss away. And I just don't want to see what I'm seeing right now with Opt co-opting this beautiful energy and redirecting people back into system think. We're trying to break free of system. Why would you want to go back and worship system? It just boggles my mind. And what really scares me about it is there are some beautiful people that are involved in it. That really, I know where their heart's intentions are. And I know they're genuine people, and I know they're tired, and I know they're desperate. We all are. Some of us kind of, learn to bite the bullet and just, it's not there yet, but keep going, keep slugging, right? And that's what I'm doing, because I'll know when we're there. It'll be the twinkling of an eye, and this whole thing changes. It will be miraculous beyond miraculous. Not everyone's going to see it. Only those that are awake will. And there will be a shimmering, and there will be a difference. It's we just got to work on ourselves. I mean, Jeremiah, you'd said earlier about trying to wake people up. I guarantee you, if you're walking around, you're going to have an air about you that people are going to just notice you for that. And they're whether they're aware of it or not, but they're you got to remember when we're walking with a torsion field that's going out a very long way. We have a very large field of energy that we can influence, knowingly or unknowingly, those around us. It's one of the reasons why when you're in a mall, there's always a certain energy because everyone's kind of in the same headspace. But like I was saying about my friend, his headspace was always one of I'm moving forward, and people literally part. That's that wave that I'm talking about. But what you can do is, and always be mindful of your thoughts. They're so powerful. What you can do is use that. You might even be a little bit subversive. Just use that beautiful, positive intent, carry it with you, and you will be affecting people around you, whether they realize it or not. So you are, in fact, by changing others. They just don't know it yet, and there's going to be something click with them. And you never know what kind of an effect you have on someone just by being in the very same room with them.
And just be creative with what you put out, because I love putting out the way the system works now, that I'm waiting for the Gestapo squad to beat down my apartment door and wrest me off my throne for using too much toilet paper. When is it going to be enough for you people?
That's it. You got to decide, when is enough enough?
Right.
I decided that, not that long ago. I mean, in terms of the awakening, I'm a relative newcomer. I've really only been in this game for 3 years. A little over 3 years now.
You miss all the laws, Kate. Aren't the laws wonderful? Shouldn't we pass more?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, that was kind of where I started. Definitely. Well, you saw the Judge Bows to Sovereign video, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, have a look at that. That was me in boy mode. Things only happen once, right? And that's always a bit of a mind mess for people. Well, the voice is enough of a mind mess, and then you see my pictures like, what? Head tilt. But anyway, whatever. I dance my dance, and I know who I am, and I'm quite content with who I am. And don't worry, you'll get over me. I did. And I have nicer shoes than you. Okay, now, gotta have fun, guys. I mean, if it's not fun, as miserable as it gets, there's still that point in the day where you have to decide, well, I have to have some fun today. And you make that aware choice, and I tell you, there's 2 hours every night that I do get to have some fun, and this is what it is. But where the hell was I going there? Oh, someone had
the laws.
Yeah, the law. Yeah.
More laws. We need more solutions.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing, right? I mean, I spent literally the first year trashing lawyers and courts because at that point, the layers of the onion hadn't been peeled off enough, so a lot of stuff people were still, quote, getting away with, unquote, because they wanted to keep things hidden. And when you understand that they're trying to keep things hidden, and they can once something is revealed, they have to change, right? This is the power you, the individual, has. I mean, the courts changed after that video. I know they did. And they changed every time things were being done. They would work once or twice, and then boom, they wouldn't work anymore, because they don't want. It's like a lottery, right? They want to let people think that they've won, and in the truest sense, some people do, and then they have to change their modus operandi to stay in honor, because that trick they can't use anymore. It's been revealed, if you know what I'm saying. And with that, I mean, dealing with credit card companies, third-party debt collectors, talking to people on cell phones when they're in court and they end up getting thrown out and don't come back, kind of thing, and stuff like that. Yeah, I was very well versed in it, and I do have a knack for writing, and I know how to write a really nasty legal document because I spend the time to make sure that my intent is known through whatever words I'm using by the etymological breakdowns of what I'm trying to say, and a lot of the stuff I wrote cornered them in so many ways. This is one of the reasons why I became, quote, a threat to them, unquote. That's why they had to marginalize me. That's why they had to come at me with low-level conflict. Steal the home, destroy the family, steal possessions, make them homeless, drag them through the newspapers, don't give them a word on it, toss them in jail for actually standing up for what is right. That's what system does. It's like I said at the start of the show, who are you going to call? The cops? They're the ones that did the crime. So who the hell are you going to call? That's why I'm telling people anything legal land is bullshit. They don't care.
And you're aware of Susan Lindauer?
Name sounds vaguely familiar.
She was the CIA asset, the whistleblower on 9/11.
Got it. Okay, yep.
She who's standing in her truth too, and that's something a lot of people aren't aware of. That they jailed her for 4 or 5 years and without any charges, and then had to let her go. But the key in the whole thing with her is her handler got $12 or $13 million of black ops money, no questions asked, and I don't know what kind of society that is.
Well, that's exactly what we're dealing with. We're dealing with ego, superego, id, right? We're dealing with all the physical, fictional aspects to keep us away from our spiritual selves. They keep everybody so ingrained in, oh, look at that football game. Oh, look at that, American Idol. Oh, look at that, nice shiny car. Must get a new one. Oh, look at this, that, and the other. They've got people chasing trinkets and baubles. That's why I look at things like Opt, and it's all trinkets and baubles to me. They're, just be, do, and fly like a butterfly, and, all the rest of this shit that goes along with it, but they can't answer the hard questions. And I got to tell you, when I see the word person, I'm going, this is, if this is a lawyer, they obviously don't know the first thing about law, and that's always a first red flag for me, someone that says I'm an ex-lawyer. No, you're never an ex-lawyer because you swore an oath. And another quote that she'd said in Heather had said one of her shows was, well, usually when we do a job like this, just a little flag went up on that one. Just a little one, right? What kind of job are you doing, Heather? And we had Patrice on Wednesday night. I mean, there's a classic whistleblower. She's got so much information in her noggin. That's why I love when she calls. I mean, I've already got a couple of emails from her today. I generally they take me about 20 minutes to half an hour to read. She writes a lot, but she puts so much information in her emails. And so I'm kept well abreast of what's going on with her, and she can dig out information like few that I've ever seen. So and now there's someone that's been marginalized, someone that has she told a bit of her story on Wednesday night. There's someone that been tailed, trailed, hassled, pulled over. Her mom getting called, and you name it, and all the rest of it. That's what they do, and that's the problem with this world. What you have are dark aspects that are working, for treats for their masters. Whether they are completely aware of what they're doing or not is another story. But I'll tell you, those that are their masters know exactly what they're doing, and those are the ones that I was referring to in the Kabbalion. With, you can use that spiritual power for good or evil. The measure of what you're going to do in evil is how far you're going to get swung back. So,
right.
Now, someone had asked me earlier, just not to derail this too much, but someone had asked me earlier in a Facebook post, and with regards to timelines. So I can actually touch on that a little bit because I have experienced a time jump where I physically witnessed it, what they did to me in order to steal my home. Because I got to tell you. Every piece of paper the system ever sent to me was screwed up. They messed up on it every single time. Right back before the Judge Bow's video, 2 city baby cops, I guess, well, I don't know what they call them, municipal, cop wannabes or whatever, baby cops. I call them baby cops. Anyway, they showed up trying to serve me for a ticket I never got. And, of course, I didn't fill out the back of the paperwork, so that was totally messed up. And I sent them on their merry way. I kicked them off my property. And, of course, a couple of days later, an actual bailiff who knows me. I have this on video. I got to get it up on YouTube. This will really piss Steve off. Silly wanker. Anyway, here's a guy that was an assistant coach for my daughter's soccer team who, I got to know over a couple of years. Didn't know he was a court bailiff, though. And so I know this guy firsthand, and right on the video it says, well, I told him, it says, that name's a fiction. It's not me. It's a corporation. You know that. Well, this is not you. I cannot serve you. Now, here's a guy that I was at every game with my daughter. I mean, I actually helped out in terms of the coaching and what have you. But, here's a guy and he couldn't serve me. And he ends up calling a couple of the local cops from Guelph, and they show up about 20 minutes or so later, and he couldn't serve me. He ended up serving a rock on my front lawn. He put it under a rock. I shit you not. I got that in video too, so I got to do a little bit of editing and start poking fun at these idiots. Useful idiots. That's all they are. And they think they're doing something. Well, I've got as Steve put it to me. I said, I've got a family to feed, and I said, oh yeah, so mine can starve. Right. That's how you work.
That's real compassion.
I'm glad. But I'll tell you right now, I never wish any of them any harm. And the mere compassionate fact that I've done that is just going to make their return that much more intense. Because I still, at this point, would never wish them harm. I don't want to see them harmed. I just want things put right. You know.
Well, again, that's where when I have these things happen, I just let go and let God. And He does a far better job than me.
Well, that's it. I mean, we can talk. I'd sooner use the all just because it's more. That's what it is. It's the all. It is unknowable. It's got no boundaries. It's got that is the all mental. That is everything that is, right? So, and the reason why I move away from things like God is because the dogma and the stigma that is placed on that really can push people away from the truth. You see, because religion has done such a beautiful job of doing that, of bringing people in. People understand that they get to a point where it's all bullshit, and then as soon as they start hearing God or Jesus again, they run away. So it's a perfect
I put it differently. I said Jesus is not happy with any of the religions. In fact, the wrappings will be coming off them, and I tell people to get out of their head and into their heart and get that heart-to-God connection made and to ask for divine guidance on a daily basis. And the other big keys that people really miss are to always be in gratitude no matter what your circumstances, even if they're horrible at times. It may be because you have to learn lessons or whatever, and then to take actions. Don't just talk about things, but take actions, because that's where you truly learn and progress from.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I just want to do a little shout out here, Donna. Thank you so much for the note that you wrote. I will reply to you. I was quite taken aback, so it's going to take me a few minutes to respond to such a beautiful note as that. I like to take the time to do that. Now, I just want to get on the timelines for a sec, just so people know what I'm talking about. For those that have listened to any shows for any length of time, I mean, Tony and I have covered this countless times, and of course, with Brett Stillings being on recently, it gives a deeper look into time travel, which is completely possible and is happening right now all the time. You just don't know about it because certain people don't want you to know about it. But here's what happened to me. I've told the story a couple of times, but I just want to share this so you know that what happened to me, this is a very real thing. And I tell you, if I hadn't experienced it myself, I probably would have questioned it, or not had the reality that I do. What happened was the night they raided my house, there was a document they gave Sue, and it had a spelling error on it. It actually misspelled my, quote, corporate name, unquote. What happens with any document if there's a mistake on it? The action is completely null and void because there was a mistake on it, right? It gets thrown out in the garbage. So what they had with that one mistake was a complete nullification of everything they'd done, and they would have had to make everything right because of it. And what I did was that I saw the document. That was a Saturday night. They raided. I saw the document on Sunday because they didn't let me go until after 3. And, of course, they waited until Sue had already left the building before they let me go. So I ended up almost freezing to death that night. It was quite something. Anyway, they're not very nice people. So I got to where Sue was at and saw the document, and immediately it was a glaring mistake. It had jumped out. Now, the first name that I was given was Wilfred. And what they had done was, if you look at your keyboard, they had written Wilf Ted. So they, instead of hitting the R, they hit the T, which was kind of funny because my dad's name was Wilf and my uncle's uncle name was Ted. So it was kind of like, oh, what a coincidence. There's my dad and my uncle, late uncle, trying to tell me something, right? Or they got involved. So I always look at the ethereal part of it. And, of course, I saw that. My bailiff friend saw it. Sue saw it. And I gave him that document for safekeeping in a safe. And I asked him to scan it for me and send it to me via email, which he did later that day. And when I got the scan, I copied and pasted from the scan, because I could do that, PDF, right? And put it into a document, wrote up the fact that everything was null and void, blah, 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 blah. And I sent it to KRMC, all the lawyers there. I sent it to the provincial courts, the cops, everybody. Everybody got a copy of it. So they saw the glaring mistakes that they had made. Now, I was doing a physical setting. I wanted to send in the physical paperwork as well. The email was there. You're screwed. And what I did was, because I didn't have means to print and do whatever, it took me a couple of days to get to a place. I was at a friend's place printing stuff out, and as I was going through it, I was looking for, it was a computer I was borrowing, so, I mean, there was only a couple of scans on it that were mine, and so I opened them up, and I'm looking at it, and what's up with that? It had been corrected. It actually said Wilfred. It didn't say Wolf Ted anymore. And I saw this document with my own eyes. So did Sue. So did Richard. And he was the one that was actually taking the documents for me. And I'm showing him. He said, no, that can't be, because these were the only scans I had. And the only thing, and it immediately popped into my mind because I'd heard of this kind of stuff happening before. And I just looked at him and I said, well, we'll send it as is, but it looks like they've time jumped me. And as fate would have it, yeah, that's exactly what they did. Because in the holding cells, when I went back to my house 2 weeks later to reclaim my home, of course they sent out countless cops because I'm so dangerous. I'm a singing songwriter with no violent streak, right? So they have to send all their goonies out. When I was downstairs in the holding cells at the court, I was talking to Slick Dick Kevin, and it was the last time I saw him, actually. Imagine this. And just before I was going back down to the holding cell for the, quote, Baal, their worshipping of Baal hearing, I looked him square in the eyes and I said, so, tell me, Kevin, was it you that did the time jump or one of your lackeys? And his face went white. He just looked at me, had a look of shock, and he walked away. I haven't seen him since.
He jumped back into time.
Well, that's the thing. And that's the thing, too, because what I've just done to all the new listeners that haven't heard that story is I just brought you into my timeline. You see? That's the difference. We all carry our independent timeline, so I just brought you into the one that they jumped on me. And what happens when they do that is they create paradoxes. And everyone that hears this story, guess what they got to do now? They got to fix it. So I know tens of thousands of people that know that story, and every paradox that they have to repair turns into millions of them. So thanks, guys, for having ears to hear that little story. So
ties in with some of my experiences too, because I had one where I didn't actually see the being, but I feel that it was probably a gargoyle that came through the dimensions and went back through. After a point in time, and that everything was put back the way it was before it happened.
Well, that's it, they have to do that. And I'm going to go back to this little series. What's it called? Gravity Falls. There's an episode, time travel episode, and I urge everyone to look for it. You can get it online, watch the whole episode, but it's about time paradoxes and it's about time jumping and that it's a big no-no in the creator concept. They call it the universal time baby, and that's why I refer to time as the universal time baby, and you can't mess with it. And it will come back and it will sort you out. So again, these guys that are with all this evil spiritual intent and all the rest of it and doing all the cheats like time jumping and just messing with creation in general, are going to get their asses handed to them in the most spiritual sense. And I kind of like what you said there, Hugh, about Hitler possibly being a cockroach that keeps getting eaten on an asteroid 500 trillion light years galaxies away from here, and he's got to work his way all the way back up.
Right.
So, and let's look at the good side of this too, right? Because of the intentions that some of these evil entities have, we get a more true sense or a greater sense of goodness in the comparison, right? So they're actually good and evil in that regard. So that's why every soul gets the opportunity to, do it again. And who knows, depending on the contracts that, we make coming into this game, it could be, I'll be evil, but I don't want to do it. I'll do it because I know that creation needs it and love and all the rest of it. I just don't want to be having to go through it, and who knows what kind of contracts we sign.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. People just don't know how to think. They're too busy solving or working into the conspiracy so deep instead of just being themselves, starting with themselves and just being a better person and having that ripple out into the community and around the world. If enough people did that, we'd already have won.
Exactly. And I just have Helder tagging me here looking for the Kabbalion. Tell you what, yes, if I could send the PDF, I'm going to actually put the link up for people to grab the PDF for the Kabbalion on my Facebook, so you'll get access to it right away. I'm just going to have to dig it up, but what do we got left here? Maybe about 10 minutes. Wow, that 2 hours went really quick. I was kind of wondering. Yeah, we got like 11 and a half minutes. Wow. And it's been fun with you guys. Thank you so much for calling in.
Have you gotten into the UFO area that much?
Oh yeah, we covered.
Because I had the Hudson Valley, New York sightings back in the 80s.
Okay.
And I've asked psychics. I get like 50-50 response because I felt it was real. It probably could have been one of the time travel ships like you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, when you're talking interdimensional, right, we have infinite dimensions, infinitely in all directions, the multiverse and what have you, which would be kind of difficult to keep an eye on all of it at the same time, yet we do, you know. But and who knows what the all has in mind for this game. We are all aspects of that. So it's kind of get in your boat, get in the river of life, start following your heart. It'll steer you right. And it'll change the world. It will change the world. People have no idea how absolutely critically important they are in the world scheme.
And powerful.
Oh, everyone matters to the infinite degree here. So what we're dealing with here is a planet that has been so controlled for so long by so very few that have the spiritual skills to manipulate and control this planet, and keeping us in dishonor through our free will consent, which nullifies the universal flashback there. But then, you know, there's people like us that kind of go, no, we get it, and no more. And of course, the stars will tell you exactly what's going on right now. I will say Blake sent me, what was it? It was on Facebook. It sent me, I think it was Blake, I'm pretty sure it was, had sent me the natal chart for Rome on noon on March 12th, which is Tuesday, 2013, which is supposedly the day that the new pope, or at least the conclave, gets underway. And what a chart it is. I showed it to Santo. I had a brief chat with him about it. Effectively, Saturn, when he looked at it, he said Saturn's the only one that's below the horizon, and Jupiter was basically out on this. And I want to try to get this right, because Santo was so much more proficient and qualified to talk about this than I am. But if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see it. It's quite something to look at, the gathering of planets all in one location in Pisces. And what do we have? Yeah, because there's Saturn below the horizon. But what in a nutshell, what Sana was saying about it was this will be the last pope. This is the last pope, just based on that, because Jupiter's out and Saturn will be the one that is ruling this particular time. It's pretty cool stuff, you know. Yeah. So again, I was really hoping he was going to come on at least for that, and to give people a chance to hear him. And again, I didn't hear back from Jordan, so. Hey, the standing rule is this: Friday night belongs to Santo and Jordan here on Syncretism, at their availability and ability to be on the show. So it's I just want to make sure that this night is left open for them. So
I'll give you a site you might enjoy. It's the letters SM like Michael WA.org, smwa.org, and on that site you'll see miraculous photos of all kinds of different images that appear when people take pictures. That's the church I was married in, and there's
very cool.
Yeah, there's a seer back in 1970 who was saying that Satan's right at the top of the Catholic Church, and this is a Catholic woman.
There you go, eh?
I like to bring that out in these times, and I think you'll really enjoy that.
Right on. And it was Blake. Thank you very much, Blake, for posting that. It's amazing the information that crosses my desk. I'm thinking, I never thought to look at that. And there it is, boom, boom. And it's pretty cool. Anyway, what do we got, about 8 minutes here? 6 minutes, what am I talking about? Jeremiah, some thoughts?
Yes. I'm just kind of blown away, as usual, by these conversations. Just to be a part of that, paradoxical time jump thing and screwing up with their plans. I'm happy to be a part of that, and I'm happy that everyone else is, more so a part of that. But it's crazy that they go through those great lengths just to try to keep things, the way that they are, and knowing that they're going to break down. I mean, could they possibly think that we're just going to keep, rolling over and taking it?
Apparently.
It's just.
I was going to say, that's sanity. They're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. No, sorry.
I'm like a monkey wrench in their works, because I'll give you another quick cite. It's an artist in New York who painted my father. I wasn't sure if it was his sixth or seventh wife, but the website is Zita, Z-I-T-A, Davison, D as in David, A-V-I-S-S-O-N, art.com, ZitaDavisonArt.com. When you go on that site, click on the client list, the second column to the right, about 21 names down, it says Mr. and Mrs. Harry Traulson. Now, my father's sixth wife, if you Google Regine, R-E-G-I-N-E, Traulson, you'll see in 1996, she married the controller for New York City, the commissioner for New York City, William J. Diamond. They were married in Gracie Mansion by Rudolph Giuliani. You haven't had a chance yet to listen to that Hugh Traulson synchronicity, synchro-mystic encounters, have you, Kate?
Got lots of different encounters.
You'll find that quite fascinating. It's all kinds of stories about my whole life, and I mean, even as a young boy, I toured with my father and brother the first nuclear submarine, the Nautilus.
Oh, nice.
He had his refrigerators on there, and I don't know of any civilians that tour the first nuclear submarine.
No, that's definitely got to be a first. Absolutely.
Yeah,
no,
and to have the letter from President Obama to me, and to have the Speaker of the House resigning in shame indirectly, and my father, I have these synchronicities. My father's company, which is currently owned by Hobart, is headquartered in Fort Worth, Texas, where Jim Wright lives.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you got to listen to that interview. It's loaded with synchronicities. Because I read a book, and it was helpful to me around the time I exposed this former federal government bureaucrat for fraud. The book was titled The KGB, The Eyes of Russia, written by a high-level CIA operative by the name of Harry Rositsky. I actually spoke with him after reading the book and lost track of him over the years. In 2008, something triggered me to see if he was still alive. He had passed, and when I read his little obituary, 4 synchronicities jumped out at me. His name was Harry. My father's name was Harry. His wife's name was Barbara Helen. My mother-in-law's name was Helen. His daughter's name was Anne Elizabeth Hunt. My wife's name is Anne Elizabeth. My mother's maiden name is Hunt. To have 4 synchronicities from way up in the CIA.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that is definitely meant to be. Well, we got just under 3 minutes here. I'm going to say my thank yous to Critical Mass Radio and Paul and Lisa and the Critical Mass Radio team for giving us this platform every night where we can share our news and views and get some information off our chest. Sometimes I need to. And also, just a quick announcement again, starting a week Monday, we have Greg from In5D going to be hosting a show on Monday night here on Critical Mass Radio, while Tony and I do our thing on QL Television. So Critical Mass Radio is 7 nights a week, and that's exactly what I want, and so happy to have Greg on board, sharing what he shares every day, selflessly doing what he does. So it's going to be good. It's going to be great. He'll have his co-host Heidi on with him as well. So I do urge people, a week Monday, he will be starting to give Greg your full support, and I know you will. He's a beautiful human being. And guys, I honestly can't say thank you enough for jumping in and joining me. I don't think people could handle 2 hours of me just bitching out, but there you go, right?
I get to do the timeline jump this weekend.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I was going to ask you, when you said Jim Wright, is that James Wright, the former? We had him on the radio. Is why I'm asking.
Oh no, this is the former Speaker of the House, Jim Wright. James Wright.
Okay, because James Wright is another beautiful whistleblower with the Masonic and has let lots of stuff out. I know he's got.
This one was the
not the same guy. I just want to make sure I got that clarified in my own little noggin. But thank you guys so much for dialing in. And see, you proved to everybody that, hey, call up, you'll get on the air and just shoot the shit. I want to hear from people, And I didn't even give out the phone number. You guys have it, must have it on your auto dial. It's beautiful.
It's on the show page.
On the show page. That's right, too. I forgot about that. Oh, okay. Blonde Irish bimbo. Get over it. But I just want to do a big thank you to all the listeners out there for being as beautiful as you are and for the notes that you send. Some days the encouragement measures far more than you could realize. There are days it gets this can be a lonely fight, and I don't want to call it a fight because that's not what it is. A lonely quest. But I know that I'm not alone, and you guys remind me of it on occasion, every day, and I can't thank you enough. So go out and be the change that you want to see, because I know you are already doing that.
I just like the old song, "Don't worry, be happy," and that's where I try and stay.
Exactly. Well, much love, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow night with Kyler Davenport, myself, and maybe Tony will show up. Who knows? But he's busy right now. But much love to everybody, and thank you guys again so much for calling in and being a part of my life tonight. I appreciate it.
Take care, and God bless.
Thank you, Kate. God bless.
Take care, guys. Have a great night. Thank you again, listeners. You've been listening to Syncretism here on Critical Mass Radio Online. Your host, Kate of Gaia, signing off for another night. Talk to you tomorrow. Much love.